The conflict between Russia and Ukraine continues. The Russian army announced that it had launched an offensive in Kupiansk, Honlyman, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson and other directions, destroying 15 Ukrainian armored vehicles and a group of personnel and equipment. The Ukrainian army claimed that the Russian army launched drone attacks on the Sumy and Chernihiv regions of Ukraine from the direction of Bryansk, and the Ukrainian army shot down 9 of the 10 drones. This kind of battle report really looks like an April Fool's Day joke. Compared with the battle situation described by the media, the battle report presents more like a village battle. It's just that such scattered battles break out several times almost every day. The number of casualties accumulated over the past few months is quite astonishing. The outside world is paying close attention to the turmoil on the Russian-Ukrainian battlefield. In this relatively calm background, both sides are actually accumulating strength. More and more Western equipment is arriving in Ukraine, including tanks and armored vehicles. The frontline forces of the Russian army have also been strengthened. According to reports, the Russian army has obtained hundreds of new tanks for special military operations, including the T-90M Fortress. However, the outside world's attention to the Russia-Ukraine conflict is not only to pay attention to the outcome of the battlefield, but also to discover some useful information. Earlier, Reuters mentioned in a report that after analyzing hundreds of papers from various military academies, military enterprises, and think tanks in China, it concluded that the People's Liberation Army is paying close attention to the performance of American and Western equipment in actual combat. Prepare for possible situations encountered in future unification wars. Reuters reported that the People's Liberation Army's analysis of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine may be more thorough than the Russian army. The U.S. military is also studying this conflict, and as a de facto direct participant, the U.S. military has summed up some experience and lessons from the conflict. According to news media reports, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley warned at a hearing in the House of Representatives that the U.S. military has drawn a conclusion from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Even in a limited regional war, the consumption of conventional munitions is also unbelievably high. He also said that if the United States is involved in a war with a major power of the same level as Russia, the consumption of equipment and ammunition will be severely off the charts, so the United States must make relevant preparations. As early as the beginning of this year, the Pentagon had made statistics. During the special military operation period, the Russian army fired an average of about 20,000 rounds of shells per day, and the Ukrainian army only fired between 4,000 and 7,000 rounds per day, which is about 1/5 to 1/3 of the Russian army. As of the time of statistics, the Russian army has consumed about 4 million rounds of shells, while the Ukrainian army has consumed 1 million rounds. Due to the high consumption on the front line, Ukraine has been asking the West to provide enough ammunition, but there is a huge gap in the production capacity of artillery ammunition in the United States and Europe, so Mark Milley urgently called on Congress and the White House to take action at the hearing. In a word, the key is money. But what Mark Milley said made people feel uncomfortable. Who does this major power of the same level as Russia refer to? Is it India? For the United States, China is definitely a more difficult imaginary enemy than Russia. The shortcomings exposed by Russia in this conflict are still obvious, so they can be targeted by the U.S. military and American equipment in a targeted manner. However, the People's Liberation Army is an army that is completely different from Russia in terms of style, combat theory, and equipment system. The degree of modernization of conventional weapons is better than that of the Russian army. More importantly, China has a huge and sound manufacturing system, and its equipment and material production capacity is not comparable to that of Russia. A Russia that has almost only the legacy of the Soviet Union can rival the entire Western countries in terms of ammunition production capacity. So, what level will China be? If Western countries want to establish a military system comparable to China's industrial production capacity, it will be very difficult. Therefore, it is absolutely impossible for Washington to push Europe into the abyss.